So, if you go on my profile on Spotify and you look at the top songs of mine on Spotify, you will see that number 1 is the most played by far. I mean, it's got over 1.5 million plays compared to the others, which I don't think have hit a million yet. The song was featured on a playlist in Turkey, Spotify Turkey. They featured it on a morning coffee playlist, and now most of my listeners are from Turkey. So, hi. Whenever I get comments about my music, the most common one I get is, I love this song, this one means so much to me, it's so amazing, and I've made my peace with it, but I went through a phase where I absolutely despised The Promise. Absolutely hated it. Anytime someone mentioned it, I would just be like, oh yeah, great, how about my other songs? I think it's very common for artists to hate their most well-known songs. Sometimes the ones that take off, so to speak, are the ones that you don't really put that much thought into. That's not always the case. Some people put their heart and soul into a song and it really, really takes off, and that's all great and lovely. But The Promise is one of those songs where I wrote it in a night when I was still living with my dad. There was a girl on Twitter who had been sending me like loads of nasty tweets for like months leading up to this. And then, because I used to do this, I went on her profile one day and I'm talking about the origins of this song, so you might not feel comfortable when you're talking about it, by the way. Here is where you stop if you need to. But she was talking about how she didn't want to live anymore, and that she was genuinely going to drink chemicals that were in her bathroom. And even though this girl had been really quite vile to me, suddenly it just didn't matter at all. I'm not saying that to be like, oh, I'm such a hero, but all I could suddenly think of was this girl who is quite mean. She was like 14, and I hated the idea of any young kid, sorry to call you a kid if you're 14, but any young person feeling like they don't want to live anymore. If you've only been on the planet 14 years and you've had enough already, what does that say about society, And I went through my own shit in my teenage years. When I was at school, I was bullied and my parents were divorcing, and oh, boo-hoo, woe's me, buy my book. And I wouldn't go as far as to say I could relate to that person. I never wanted to, completely end everything. I've never had more than like a fleeting thought, which I think it's called like the call of the void or something, where sometimes you're on a railway platform and you're like, I wonder what it would be like if I just jumped in front of a train. That's called the call of the void, and there's a very big difference between that and being suicidal. But I do know what it's like going through tough stuff, and that's why I wrote the song. I was very inspired by it, and I wrote it for that girl. And I posted a acoustic demo the same night that girl tweeted, and people loved it. Then I recorded it for my EP because people liked it so much, and released the video for it. I think it was late 2013, early 2014. The video came out, and it blew up. Well, not blew up, but like people really, really resonated with it. But suddenly, I started to feel that people weren't talking about my previous song, Go the Distance, anywhere near as much as they were talking about The Promise, or they weren't really talking about the other songs on my EP, Distance, as they were The Promise. And it started to poke me a little bit, but I was still really proud of it because it was on the same EP. I was like, people are listening to my stuff, this is amazing, I'm so happy. And I used to really, really like playing it live. Everyone used to start crying, which was sad. I didn't like people crying, but then I released my next EP, Perfect, and I was really, really excited about it. I think it came out on my birthday, and a lot of people liked Perfect, and a lot of people liked the songs on there, but again, within a couple of days, the comments went back to, I really love The Promise, can I do a ukulele cover of The Promise? By the way, if you want to do a ukulele cover of The Promise, that's fine. Doesn't bother me. But it was all about the promise. And I think for a while I was very jaded in that I felt like it wasn't my best song. You should be consistently improving your songwriting, so you should always prefer your newer stuff to your older stuff. You should never, as an artist, say, "Yeah, I peaked in 2002," or something like that. You shouldn't think that your old work is your best work. You should always be producing your best work. Otherwise, go back to the drawing board. But whereas I thought Perfect and then Sucks to Be You and Magnetized, every one of them was getting better in my mind. The general consensus online, at least in comments, still seemed to be The Promise is great. I love The Promise. It helped me. It saved my life. I had people say that. I don't object to people saying it. I just think you should give yourselves more credit if you're someone that said that, But I ended up really, really resenting the song. This was the peak of my disliking for The Promise, simply because it's the most popular song. The peak of it was on the Busted tour, which was like May, June 2016, almost 2 years ago. Oh God. I mean, obviously I wasn't going to play it at a Busted show, but there was no way that I would have ever considered it, even if it was upbeat, because I was jealous of my own song. Does that make sense? Like, I wanted my other songs to get the recognition that I felt The Promise was getting, whereas I thought The Promise was one of my crappier songs. So I began to really, really hate it. And then things changed a little bit. On the Busted tour, I was the first act on, and then the second support slot was Wheatus. Now, Wheatus are a very wonderful band, and they're very inspiring people, and the chats I had with Brendan on that tour were amazing, and he taught me a lot. They all taught me a lot. Gabby taught me so much about vocal harmonizing and warm-ups and stuff. But I was in the Wheatus tour bus after one of the shows, somewhere in the middle of the tour, and I asked him. I said, "Dude, how do you go out there and play Teenage Dirtbag every single night? How do you do it?" That song came out in, I think, like the year 2000, 2001, something like that. And obviously that's the one that Wheatus is known for. Wheatus, Teenage Dirtbag. Most general casual music fans probably couldn't name another Wheatus song. And I felt like my issue with The Promise, I felt like I really resonated with that. So I sat there in the tour bus and I asked Brendan, I was like, how do you go out there and play that? How do you not just stop playing it? And he just looked at me and went, "Well, why would we stop playing it?" And I said, "Because you must hear it all the time. I'll play Teenage Dirtbag." And he was like, "Yeah, I can." He said, basically, "I can see why you think I would hate Teenage Dirtbag, but at the end of the day, that song was written in 2000 and it's still being played today, and it still brings a smile to people's faces when we play it, and we're really, really proud of it. We wrote a massive hit, and we're always going to be proud of that." And it completely changed the way I thought. I realized that I was hating my own success simply because I had it in my mind that, once the new stuff is out, you can't like the old stuff anymore. It's all about new Emma. The old Emma can't come to the phone right now. Why? Oh, because she's dead. Oh! And having that chat with Brendan made me realize that I was just being an idiot. I still don't think The Promise is the best song. I don't think it's my most well-written song. I don't think it's the best produced song. Sorry, Arthur. You did a great job. But, in terms of what we did with the song, the fact that it didn't... I don't know. In terms of, songwriting, it's not my strongest, in my opinion. But if you think it is, then that's fucking great. That means you like my stuff, Even if you listen to Magnetize, the EP, and then went back to The Promise, that doesn't mean you hate Magnetize. That means that The Promise resonated with you, and I should be proud of that. I should be happy that I wrote a song that put a smile on your face, or took the frown and turned it upside down. It got you out of bed. I should be proud of that. I'm still not going to play it live, it's not because I hate it, and it's not because I'm a big bad meanie who doesn't want you to hear your favourite song. It's that moving forward, the song just doesn't fit. I feel like in my mind it had a time, it had a place in my history and perhaps yours. But I feel like seeing everyone in the crowd start crying and seeing them go back from being like 18 in the crowd to like their 14-year-old selves, I don't necessarily think that's a healthy thing for that song. You know, I think it's different if the song was like an upbeat sort of a pop song, you know, but because of the sensitive nature of the song, you know, I think I'll just bust it out in rare occasions. But yeah, I used to hate it. I grew jealous of my own success and felt like other songs should have been as celebrated. Until I had that chat with Wheatus, who just said, why would you hate it? Why would you hate The Promise? Brendan actually asked me, why do you hate it? And I said, because it's the only song that people ever ask me for. It's the only song that people want. Oh, play The Promise. You know, oh, I love The Promise. And they don't mention my other stuff. And he just said, but they're listening to your music. And I was like, you know. So, yeah, just a quick vid. But I don't hate it anymore, which is nice. It's a nice feeling. I'm proud that I wrote it. I'm proud that it helped so many people. I think it's time we put the song to bed, but it's always there for you, unless I remove it from Spotify. If I do that, don't panic. Nobody, don't freak that I just said that. That's me just talking out loud, okay? But that song's always around, you know, it hasn't gone anywhere. But we're moving forward, and I'm excited for the new stuff. And if people listen to the album that comes out this year and then still listen to The Promise, and that's still my most played on Spotify, well, so fucking be it, because it means people like my music. It doesn't matter when I wrote it. I'm grateful. So thank you. And by the way, gotta do the old plug. Please follow me on Spotify and Apple Music. Spotify, we just hit 40,000 followers on Spotify, which is amazing to me. I'm trying to use it as more like a social network, and yeah, it's working, and I'm really, really glad you guys are enjoying my playlists and stuff. And I will see you in the next one. I don't really have an outro. Sorry. Catch you later.